here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
That is right. You are listening to Hour 2 of the Todd Huff Show, which, by the way, is streaming on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube, or good evening, depending upon where you are when you're watching this program. It's good to be here. Thank you for joining us. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and help us reach more folks with the conservative, not bitter message. It is definitely needed in this time. You have found radio's safe space, or YouTube's safe space. This program is conservative, not bitter, although I've been told through our research that 98% of scientists, hard to believe, 98% of scientists agree that listening to this program can stop and even reverse those nasty side effects of liberalism just by listening, even for a couple of days. It's remarkable. So listen with caution. Contents of this program may cause you to lean to the right. So good to be here. Thank you for joining. So I'm going to continue. Last hour we were talking about this interview that Martha MacCallum had with Hawk Newsom, one of the leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement in New York, greater New York, the greater New York City area. And we broke down this conversation. I mean, this, first of all, Hawk portrays the Black Lives Matter movement as one that is one of self-defense, the right to self-defense. He says it's a movement, a pro-Second Amendment movement, which this is the first I've heard of this, by the way. And again, you have to be careful, and I don't like to, since we're starting a new hour, I feel like I kind of have to do the blanket statement again. But this is not about, I know of no one that has a problem with the concern, objection, what the stated purpose of Black Lives Matter is, which is protecting the lives of Black Americans from law enforcement. I also want to be on the record as saying I don't believe that it's a wide-scale problem that we have a bunch of racist cops. I'm certain that there are some racist cops. It's not the overwhelming majority, but nonetheless, it's problematic when it does happen. And whether it's, someone was roughed up a little bit more than they should have been or needed to be, if there was a scuffle, even if an officer is justified in using it, if sometimes using some degree of force, I'm not talking about deadly force, but just, someone's resisting arrest and, if there's unnecessary force, I mean, that sort of stuff needs to be, I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking about that. Or, in fact, I heard someone say, well, I don't want to get into that right now. But so the stated purpose of Black Lives Matter is not the problem. The problem comes from the things that follow, which is, A, it's led by at least two Marxists, problem, because they're trained Marxists too. They're not just ideological Marxists, they're trained. And what that means is that they are trained on how to use circumstances and how to create havoc in a political system so as to get the desired result, which is Marxism, or at least a movement towards that, which means it's Marxism is the antithesis of liberty. Marxism is the antithesis of the individual. Marxism is the antithesis of what we have here in the United States of America as founded in our constitutional republic. Marxism is candidly the scourge of the universe. I don't care what they say about it. History has shown us what it is, and it is a murderous ideology. It's killed millions upon millions of people. Millions. 20th century, I've mentioned this before, it's been estimated that up to 100 million Americans were killed. It's not Americans, 100 million people around the world were killed by their own governments. And those governments often took the form of communist regimes. These forms of government always were some form of totalitarian or big government regimes, whether you say the fascists, the Nazis in Germany, whether you say the Soviet communists, the Chinese communists, the Cuban communists. There's others as well. You can get into Pol Pot, and all those different groups who used, they believe that they had the moral authority, the power to execute, in most of those cases, their own citizens for things that never are justifiable. It's not justifiable to kill one of your citizens for disagreeing politically with the party in power. That's not justifiable. That is an abuse of power. That is a human rights violation. That is evil. That is morally despicable. I don't know how else to say this. And so that's the ideology of this. That's a problem. Black Lives Matter is being led, was founded by two Marxists. That's a problem. Another problem here is that the issues are not being clearly identified. A lot of things get thrown into the mix here. In fact, in this interview that we've already shared, the part that we've already shared, we've already seen discussions about the Second Amendment, which has nothing to do with this movement until that comment was made by Hawk Newsom, which again we played hour one of the program, which you can hear on at toddhuffshow.com or on Facebook. It's there as well. But that's a first for me. I didn't know it was a pro-Second Amendment movement. And if you listen to the way that Hawk Newsom describes the movement, he says, Americans are... He acts as though we're against black Americans having guns. Why? Why would I be against it? I'm against people using guns to commit crimes, regardless of their colors, their ethnicity, their gender, any of that stuff. I'm against people breaking, reasonable gun laws. I got to say reasonable because some of the gun laws that we're seeing are not necessarily reasonable. But Second Amendment supporting or gun laws that are in accordance with or not violating the Second Amendment. So we got confusion. We got things. It's like nailing Jello to the wall. And then, of course, the solutions. We're to the point now where we can talk solutions. The Senate has been talking about the criminal justice reform with law enforcement. Democrats did not want to have that conversation on the Senate floor, shutting down Tim Scott again, a black Republican. If the Republicans had shut down a black Democrat, that's all we would hear about. We would hear about the race of the person that's introducing the legislation and how racist those people are in the Republican Party, Republican senators not even giving him or her the respect that they deserve in sharing and having a discussion and debate on their legislation. That's what happened yesterday. They didn't get the 60 votes that are needed. I love how this is often portrayed as though you need 60 votes. You don't need 60 votes, folks. You don't need 60 votes. You need a majority, which is 51 in the Senate. That's what you need to pass legislation. However, because the system has been abused, every piece of legislation effectively has to get to 60 votes because the other side, the party that's not in power, will threaten to filibuster. And not a good old-fashioned filibuster where you have to literally talk the whole time, and then if they stop, someone can yield, can grab the floor and then begin to try to gain control over the debate process and move something to a vote. No, this is just a theoretical filibuster, which is effectively said now we need 60 votes for everything. So anyway, they don't want to discuss solutions, I guess, the political solutions. They just want I'm talking about the politicians at this point, and the leaders who are manipulating people into this Marxist ideology, hoping to anyway. They're trained at this. This is what they're trained to do, folks. This is it. Marxists are trained to be revolutionaries. Marxists are trained to take a nation that's not communist and turn it into that. And there's tactics and kind of a sort of guerrilla political warfare that they engage in to try to move the needle towards Marxism, towards big government. And that's what they're using this movement for. Again, that doesn't mean there's not a legitimate component to it. I've made that clear that there is. But what I am saying is that there's so much more happening here. And what is not happening is that now that we have this discussion going on, we don't have a clear a clear next step. We don't have proposed solutions because, again, as I've said before, reparations is not a solution. Dismantling the police, defunding the police is not a solution. Making it so that anyone can vote without any voter ID whatsoever is not a solution, or any other Marxist ideology, Marxist idea that's being pushed by the leaders. I'm talking about the two of the three founders pushed by these self-identified Marxists, trained Marxists. So none of that stuff is part of the solution. So reasonable people are thinking now this is where we have a discussion and try to find a solution. And if there's a legislative part of the solution, this actually goes through Congress. But that's not what's happening. In fact, that part is being shut down, and the rules are being changed, so to speak. Democrats don't want to talk about a piece of legislation, an amendment. Now they want to go back and start from scratch in the Judiciary Committee, take their time, draw this out, have more tension, try to drive Trump's poll numbers down by making it look like it's Trump's fault, when meanwhile we're looking here and saying, where are the Senate Democrats? Now the House will pass a bill, the House Democrats, and of course it's probably going to be something radical or that gives the federal government some authority. This is what Democrats do, which of course is applauded by the Marxist leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement. And so here we find ourselves. It's like nailing Jell-O to the wall. Solutions that are being presented, things that are being discussed that would address the stated purpose of Black Lives Matter are not even really, that's what this legislation was. That's what this was supposed to do. Now, whether the legislation can actually fix it, that's a whole other discussion. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole today, but that's, we need ultimately, legislation doesn't solve these problems. What solves these problems is better heart, a better people that are better people that aren't abusing their powers, because a law that's created in Congress can be broken just like the previous laws have been broken. And that's why, by the way, not only am I a conservative, believing that we should all have freedoms and not be controlled by big government, that we should all be free to choose and make our own choice and live our own lives and follow our own dreams and passions and so forth. But I'm a conservative Christian, I should say, as well, because I believe that when we have those freedoms, in order to truly realize freedom and not be a slave to, not be a slave to some of the, some of the things that we're subjected to in this world, I would tell you that Christ frees us from that. So that's where the real transformation of hearts comes, is when we see more people turning back towards God, or turning towards God for the first time. So that's a component of this that I would like to see happen as well. Not the movement where everyone apologizes for generalities, for being white. That just doesn't make any sense to me. I can empathize with people who have struggled. I can try to understand. I can understand that what's happened in this history of this nation as it pertains to racial relations has been reprehensible throughout a good chunk of American history. I can also tell you that those things have been changed, eradicated, systemically. We don't have those things anymore, but we still do have racist people. And of course, that is a bad thing. And we should try to move the needle on that. But setting these arbitrary and impossible to measure or quantify goals and objectives on people who are trying to figure out how they can help is not a helpful thing. To say speak out more, and to be on the right side of the issue and all that doesn't even mean anything. I think people are willing and ready to hear and understand and to see, legitimate solutions to these issues and problems without fundamentally transforming America in the sense of moving away from our Constitution and our liberties towards totalitarianism and Marxism. That should go without having to be said. You know, you just look. It's remarkable to me the number of people that were oppressed and brutalized under Marxism is totally just ignored by people. Instead, they want to criticize the Constitution and our founders. And again, they were not perfect, and slavery is a dark stain on what they created with certainty. But there were so many other good ideas. When you compare what the founders did with what Marxism is, folks, it's not even close. It's not even. One is evil and one is good. One was tainted by the decisions on slavery. One is completely and morally bankrupt. And that is not the foundation of this nation. This nation is founded upon godly principles, good principles, wholesome principles, not including in that, obviously, the slavery component. That has been fixed and I think addressed, other than individuals choosing to be racist. And I say, to some degree, there's nothing you can legislate out of that. You have to be able to just continually to press, good, strong moral character and so forth. And nothing wrong with including in that some biblical truth. And instead of pushing people away from pursuing that truth in God, maybe we should encourage that. Again, not as a federal government, but just as individuals that say, hey, for those of us that have been changed by the blood of Christ, maybe we should be sharing that message a little bit more, explaining it to people, offering them that hope as well. Because this is where real transformation and change comes, is when the God of this universe gets a hold of our lives, and not that we're purified as far as not making mistakes from that moment, but the cleansing and the Bible says we're made into a new creature, right? We're made new, and we're reconciled to Him, and He dwells in us. If we had more of that, of all races, right? This is true for anybody. God doesn't care about those things. He does care about those things insofar as it's part of who the person is, but it doesn't matter to God. He came for the world, not for a certain race, not for a certain, gender, whatever else. Anyway, long in this segment, I know. Time for a timeout. Going to take a quick break, come back and share a little bit more from this interview. And there's a couple of other things I want to get to as well, time permitting. You're listening to Conservative Not Bitter Talk. I am your host, Todd Huff, back here in just a minute.
Looking to make a conservative, not bitter fashion statement? Check out our apparel online, including brand new items at toddhuffshow.com/shop today.
The compassion of Christ compels us to stop what we're doing and seek that person out. I think as Jesus went in that famous song I sang as a little kid was Zacchaeus, come down. Zacchaeus was in a tree and he wanted to engage with Jesus, but he just couldn't, and Jesus stopped and He went over to him. If we are going to live a life of compassion, the compassion of Christ, are we willing to stop and seek those who need a touch of compassion today?
Ever wondered what shooting a real machine gun feels like? At Indie Trading Post, you can have an awesome and safe shooting experience in our family-friendly environment. Firing a weapon on full auto is something you will always remember. Schedule some range time today and let Indie Trading Post give you the real machine gun shooting experience. We guarantee you'll have a blast. Give us a call at 317-782-4867 or schedule your range time at fullautoindy.com.
This is the sound of your typical do-it-yourselfer in completely over his head.
For heating, plumbing,
and electrical done right.
Call Mr. Quick. Call Mr. Quick. Dial the number, spell the words. For on time.
Does your business have a plan for social media marketing? Are you reaching the right audiences through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and the list goes on? Are you learning from the data? Jarbo can help. Our team doesn't just come in and tell you how to be successful. We help you execute and measure your sales and marketing efforts. Give us a call at 317-834-6560 or visit us online at jarbomarketing.com. That's jarbomarketing.com. Make social media work for you.
Outside of the federal government, no one likes losing money.
Any amount of money, not just the $6 billion the State Department lost. And what makes losing money worse is knowing that we could have done something to stop it. Well, if you have an inefficient furnace, a toilet that won't stop running, or a leaky faucet, you can do something about it. You can call the good folks at Economy Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing. Call 317-831-5279 or visit economyheatingandair.com.
Are you an electrician, plumber, or handyman looking for an 8-to-5 job that pays you what you're worth? Copper Ridge Home Services wants you. Our veteran-owned family business offers holiday pay, weekends off, and on-site training for entry-level positions. Our team is growing, so if you have a can-do attitude, we want you to be part of that growth. Ready for a change? Give Copper Ridge a call at 317-839-6100. That's 317-839-6100. Copper Ridge Home Services. We value your time.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
800-764-9168. 800-764-9168. 800-764-9168. That's 800-764-9168.
Welcome back. So, I want to go back to what this interview. Martha MacCallum, what's the story, I think is the name of her program. She has Hawk Newsome, one of the leaders of the Black Lives Movement, New York chair, Greater New York chair. And I backed this up a little bit. So about 15 seconds of this is something I played last hour, but I want you to hear this. Because he's saying we want to burn it to the ground. The system. Want to burn the system to the ground. And then he explains that, I could mean that literally or figuratively. It's really how you interpret it. So, What do you mean? What are you talking about? And where did this become a Second Amendment? And when did this become about the Second Amendment? That's now what he's telling us. But I want to back this up. And I want you to listen to this and, again, to wrap your mind around trying to have a substantive discussion with someone who says things like this. This is just, this makes no sense, folks, is really what it comes down to. And so, let's just get back to that. I want to hear this first part in particular, and then we'll continue talking about this conversation Martha MacCallum had with Hawk Newsome of the Greater New York Black Lives Matter movement. Here you go.
If this country doesn't give us what we want, then we will burn down this system and replace it. All right, and I could be speaking figuratively. Okay. I could be speaking literally. It's a matter of interpretation. Like, let's be very real and let's observe the history of the 1960s. When black people were rioting, we had the highest growth in wealth, in property ownership. Think about the last few weeks. Since we started protesting, there have been 8 cops fired across the country. You remember they were telling us that there was due process. That's why the cop that choked Eric Gardner to death kept his job and received raises for 5 years. Anytime a cop hurt a woman, hurt a child, hurt pregnant people, hurt our elders, there was always a call for due process. You must wait. You must wait. But the moment people start destroying property, now cops can be fired automatically. What is this country rewarding What behavior is it listening to? Obviously not marching, but when people get aggressive and they escalate their protests, the
You
country
feel like that's when
listens.
you're getting
Cops
results.
get fired. Now you have police officers, you have Republican politicians talking about police reform. I don't condone nor do I condemn rioting, but I'm just telling you what I observed.
You're saying.
Wow, a lot to unpack there. He doesn't condone, nor does he condemn rioting. Well, just to be clear, I condemn rioting. I condemn lawlessness. And I have a problem with someone who can't condemn rioting and lawlessness. I mean, this notion here, this notion that, look, and there's a couple of things at play here. Number one, you have weak-kneed politicians, right? You have politicians in places like, Seattle's my favorite pick, Washington State. If you're in that state, my apologies to you for having to contend with the lunacy where you can literally have an insurgency take over parts of your city of Seattle. Now, granted, it only lasted for about 300 hours because the individuals who are running said city, the warlords, anytime you have to say warlord in a description of who is running your city or the nation of Chaz or Chop or whatever, when you can't decide on the name of your nation, when you have warlords running your nation, when you have kind of as your foundational principle the looting and destruction of businesses and graffiti, when you immediately start implementing policies like border patrol and identification, and you start, which, look, I've got no problems with, but these are the sorts of things that they are outspoken against. But it's funny when they suddenly have their own little make-believe nation over there in Chaz, the first things they go to are things like that. They want to see identification. They want to have a border to enforce who can come in and out. They have people that are carrying guns for their protection, we're told. I question that. When you condone, this guy will not condemn, going back to Hawk Newsom here, he won't condemn riots. He won't condemn violence because he says, look, what we've got here is really the only way that we can have our voices heard, getting the results that we want. Well, my question is, what would have happened if the riots didn't do it? Would you suddenly find yourself saying, Mr. Newsom, would you suddenly find yourself saying, I neither condone nor do I condemn attacks on individual Americans? It's the only way we can get the attention of our government is to go in and, to wreak havoc and destruction and mayhem on white communities. Would that have been permissible at that point? You begin to wonder with the moral equivalency here and the justification. So, again, for not being able to condemn violence, there's so many things that are conflated and confused here intentionally. There's a difference, as he's pointed out earlier, a difference between self-protection, self-defense, versus aggressively, causing violence against someone else. That's not self-defense. These things have a pretty straightforward definition. Yet they're willing to just gloss over this, the leadership of this movement, because they're getting what they want politically now. And so he also criticized due process. Look, due process is a good thing, folks. Due process is, from a legal standpoint or from a criminal justice standpoint, is the one thing that stands between mob rule, vigilante justice, and adherence to a system whereby people who are charged with crimes have to have a strict process where they go through the process. They're charged formally. They have the charges made known to them. They get to face those who have made accusations against them. They have a right to a trial where there's a jury of their peers. They get to hear the case and the evidence presented against them, and that jury is supposed to make their decision as to whether or not someone is guilty or should be acquitted based upon the preponderance of evidence, right? They should only vote to convict if they have eclipsed any reasonable doubt that the person charged with the crime is, that they haven't committed that, right? Any reasonable doubt should prevent you from saying someone is guilty. And that's a high bar to eclipse. And the reason we have this is because the founders saw abuses that government was willing to take in order to get the desired outcome. It's the same thing that Mr. Newsom here is arguing for. He's arguing, it seems like, to me, he's arguing for less due process. Complaining that cops get due process. Of course cops should get due process. I sat on a jury for a guy. He was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, ended in the death of a 5-year-old boy. Atrocious, awful, terrible stuff. This guy, it was obvious early on he was a terrible, terrible guy. The text that they introduced as evidence clearly showed that. But it didn't mean he still deserved due process. He wasn't on trial for being a terrible guy. That's, you start getting into that sort of stuff, these sort of generalities and subjective things. That's dangerous territory. He was charged with a specific crime, and we looked at evidence for that specific crime. Him being a terrible person did not influence my viewpoint as to whether or not he was guilty of what he was, accused of. And that's a good thing, folks. That's a good thing. These fundamental American, you notice what happens. These fundamentally American, or these fundamentally important ideas to the American foundation of our government, our system, our constitutional republic are under assault. Now, it's ironic that he's defending the Second Amendment here. It seems weird to throw that into the mix. Maybe they think they can get more people on their side if they say this is about the Second Amendment, but they're attacking due process. He's attacking due process. This is a good thing. It doesn't always generate the right results, right? Sometimes guilty people go free, but they try to prevent against innocent people going to prison or to face consequences for crimes they did not commit. Although that certainly has happened as well, but you try to guard against that anyway. I got to take a break. Along again in this segment. Got to get us back on track next segment. So sit tight. Be back in just a minute.
Like what you hear on Todd's show? Why not get more by signing up for Todd's free Semi-Sweet Morsels of Truth newsletter? To subscribe, visit toddhuffshow.com/subscribe or text HUFF to 31996.
The printing industry has changed a lot since we opened for business in 1931, but what our clients expect from us really hasn't changed. Quality print, fast turnaround, and competitive prices. We've learned a lot at Moeller Printing over 86 years and 3 generations. Why not put that experience to work for you? Call 317-353-2224 and mention discount code RADIO to receive 10% off your first order. Call Moeller Printing at 317-353-2224.
Our word can't be diluted because we are taught that a promise is a commitment in which you always follow through. No ifs, ands, or buts. So every time you walk through Greg Hubler Chevrolet doors, you can count on the advice and expertise we provide you. Because when we make a promise, we keep it. Greg Hubler Chevrolet. Promise kept. Visit GregHublerChevy.com. Find new roads.
Radon is an invisible, odorless gas that kills more people than drunk driving. In fact, radon is the leading cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. Is radon threatening the health of your family? Call Radon Environmental at 317-843-0804. Radon Environmental specializes in radon testing and mitigation. The process is quick, easy, and worth it. Radon Environmental wants to make sure your family's health is not at risk. Call 317-843-0804.
Hey Indianapolis, by now you've probably heard about Jody Dowdle with Midwest Tax Group. Jody and his team are experts at helping you prepare your personal or small business tax returns. You can count on Midwest Tax Group to get every deduction possible and work for your higher refund. And not just on this year's taxes, they'll check your prior returns for any tax savings you may have missed for free. Are you behind on filing your returns? They can file past due returns and help negotiate with the IRS too. They complete most tax returns within a week and charge an affordable, flat fee, no hourly billing. And as their client, you can consult with the team at Midwest Tax Group year-round at no charge. Midwest Tax Group has 4 office locations in Castleton, Greenwood, Plainfield, and Greenfield, with evening and weekend appointments available. Schedule your appointment today at 317-288-5260. That's 317-288-5260. Or visit their website at mwtaxgroup.com. Midwest Tax Group can help you more than any piece of software ever could.
When life is hard for the women you care about, there is help with issues such as widowhood, anxiety, depression, or abuse. They don't have to go through it alone. Peace Restored is there to walk with women through the journey. Peace Restored helps women through free mentoring, counseling, and education. When life is hard, Peace Restored is there to help women you care about find hope and healing. To learn more, visit peacerestored.net.
Healthcare is expensive and complicated. Did you know that as a Christian business owner, it is possible to provide access to affordable health benefits for your employees? Remodel Health has helped employers across the United States save over $22 million in the past 3 years. Our innovative approach allows your employees to have the health benefits they need at a cost you can afford. Go to remodelhealth.com/Todd to help your employees find the health care they deserve. Remodel Health. Rethink employee health benefits.
Ever ask yourself, what does my business insurance actually cover? Well, at AIA and Avon, we think you deserve to know. AIA is focused on earning your trust. We've found that when we educate our clients and truly listen to them, they allow us to work alongside them to put together the insurance plan they need. Whether your business is big or small, give AIA a call, 317-718-1747, or find out what we can do for you at AIA4lowrates.com. Advertisement sponsored by Grange Insurance.
Welcome back. So I want to shift gears just a tad bit. I know we've been talking about this interview that the Black Lives Matter leader, Hawk Newsom, chair Black Lives Matter Greater New York. I'm going to end up posting us on Facebook today so you can watch the whole interview. But we've talked about that a lot. And I promised you off the top that we were going to get to other issues today. Something else I wanted to get to is this issue of censorship on social media platforms. I'm going to have to just now set this up. I've been long in the first 2 segments, so this one's going to be really short. I'm going to have to talk about this next segment. Just want to set this up. But you remember last week, Trump retweeted a meme. It was an edited video, and it was created by a meme maker, YouTuber named, and again, Carpe Donktum is the account. But he edited. You've probably seen this video of a little bitty black baby and a little bitty white baby. They're toddlers, I guess. I don't know. They're walking. They're actually running. They see each other on the street or on the sidewalk from a ways away, and they sprint towards each other. Cute little thing. I mean, just cute little video. Embrace each other, hug each other. Then they start playing, and one of them starts to chase the other. Well, Carpe Donktum, sorry, I knew I would do that. Carpe Donktum had edited the video to illustrate how the media takes things out of context. And anyway, he's been permanently suspended from Twitter, at least in part over this, saying that he's violated copyright rules and so forth. I want to talk about this because this is a real problem. This is a real problem. And yes, I get, private company, they're not the government. The Constitution protects against the government from silencing speech. No one's silencing him. They've just said that he's violated the rules of the platform. Look, but we know that something else is going on here. In fact, you may have seen, if you haven't, you should check out the, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the Project Veritas. Project Veritas exposed Facebook, the people that are in charge of kind of policing content. Surprise, surprise, like 95% of them are leftists, and they've admitted on camera that, yeah, we make sure that we don't let the average person post conservative stuff. I mean, you can see these comments, right? This is problematic. I know that, yes, our founders put safeguards to prevent the government from doing these things, but it's also a problem when free speech is stifled in the society that we live in because of other things, right? And you start to ask yourself, what does it hurt? It's not like, say, a conservative talk radio station has a set number of hours. They can only put on certain programs that their audience wants to hear. That's not what's happening here. There's social media platforms. I mean, there's an infinite amount of space out there. People can post whatever they want. If people don't want to consume it, fine. But why target? Why target individuals who have a certain ideological belief? Is that really a good thing for America? Is that really a good thing for freedom? Is that not something we should at least be talking about and trying to talk about the impact that this has on things like impacting American elections, right? I mean, if Trump worked with Putin, as they want us to believe, to create messages on Facebook or silencing messages on Facebook that contradicted what he wanted people to hear, we'd hear about this until we're blue in the face. What if it's his campaign? Campaign isn't the government. What if they colluded with Facebook? Like, you get into these gray areas, and what really matters is we want a society where the ideas can be exchanged and people can debate freely and openly. And that's not what we're moving towards, folks. And this is just one illustration of that. So talk about that briefly when we get back. Got to take a time out. You're listening to Conservative Not Bitter Talk. I'm your host, Todd Huff. Back in just a minute.
Listen to Todd's show on your way to work, but want to hear more? Don't miss a beat. Visit toddhuffshow.com/listen to catch the program anytime, anywhere.
Seems like just yesterday that you couldn't find a quiet place to think in your home. Now all the kids have flown the nest and you find yourself wondering what to do with all of that extra space. This is Bruce of Bruce Richardson Realty. My team and I understand that life changes, and so do your home needs. So whether you're downsizing or upsizing, give us a call at 317-507-3285. Let us help you find the best fit for your residential or your commercial property needs. 317-507-3285.
The compassion of Christ compels us to stop what we're doing and seek that person out. I think as Jesus went, in that famous song I sang as a little kid was Zacchaeus, come down. Zacchaeus was in a tree and he wanted to engage with Jesus, but he just couldn't, and Jesus stopped and he went over to him. If we are going to live a life of compassion, the compassion of Christ, are we willing to stop and seek those who need a touch of compassion today?
Hi, my name is John Swadner, Sales Director of the Todd Huff Show. As a listener of the program, you know the show is growing. 4 years ago, it began as a podcast in a closet. Today, it's a 2-hour show that airs during morning drive in Indy and in Utah, and we're just scratching the surface. Todd brought me on board to help the show and our advertisers grow. That's why I'm specifically looking for partners who are a good fit to advertise with us. Would that be you? To learn more about what advertising would look like and to determine if it's a good fit for your business, shoot me an email to john@toddhuffshow.com. And be sure to ask me about some of our special packages that will save you up to 40%. Email john@toddhuffshow.com. Shoot me an email today.
Indy Decorative Concrete is hiring immediately. They're looking for workers with experience finishing concrete. Pay is $25 to $30 per hour with weekly overtime. All jobs are located within the city of Indianapolis. Call 317-784-1464 or apply in person at their offices located at 8366 Brookville Road, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46239. They're open Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. For more information, visit their website, www.indydecorativeconcrete.com. www.indydecorativeconcrete.com.
I love my community, and I wanted to do more to make a difference with my hard-earned dollars. I wanted to make an impact and help shape our future and our county. So I gave money to the Community Foundation of Morgan County. More than just charitable giving, the money I donate is tracked and measured so every dollar is held accountable. It's a social return on your investment. Why don't you join me in donating at cfmconline.org? That's cfmconline.org. Philanthropy with measurable impact.
Welcome back. And listeners in the Indianapolis area, Indy Decorative Concrete is hiring. They are hiring, and they're looking for good. In fact, you just heard their ad this last segment. They're looking for good, qualified workers. It could be a really good career opportunity. It's just a good opportunity for the right fit. So if you're looking for work, you want to find out more information, you can go to indydecorativeconcrete.com. Maybe you're just not content with where you are today. You're looking for a better place to work and just looking for opportunities. I encourage you to check out indydecorativeconcrete.com or call them 317-784-1464, 317-784-1464. So just a couple more things, and I'm running into the waning minutes of the program today. But this battle that we're facing, this battle on social media, where they're silencing ideas, right? We've been told for years now, for almost 4 years, that Trump colluded with Russia using fake Facebook ads and Pokemon Go ads to trick people who wanted to vote for Hillary. They were prepared to vote for Hillary, and they were tricked. They were duped by a Facebook ad that was put together by Vladimir Putin. You realize how stupid this is, by the way. But they've been duped. And they only targeted states. Remarkable, the strategy of Vladimir Putin and his Facebook team and his Twitter team and his Pokemon Go team. They only targeted listeners in the key swing states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Florida, wherever else. Right? These key swing states. They got people, maybe Florida. They got people to Pennsylvania. That's the other state. But they got people to vote for Trump by tricking them with Facebook ads. This is what we're supposed to believe. This was the narrative, basically, incessantly, that ultimately led to the impeachment of Donald J. Trump. These things are connected. Ukraine, Russia, this is all one big continual narrative and story. It's not a story. It's make-believe. It's fantasy. It's craziness is what it is. It's delusional. But this narrative was that, Facebook was used, social media was used, and now you got all these social networks that take these extreme actions, oftentimes against Trump. We can't even show what Trump retweeted here, but we've got to let you know that he retweeted it, but it's so offensive we cannot show you. And then the person who makes the meme, which of course is simply designed to show how the media, that's all it was. This meme, this video, the way it was edited was to illustrate, to demonstrate just how misleading the media edits are. That's it. It wasn't even a commentary on that video. It was satire. It was a joke to point out what the media really does in real life. And what happens? What does Twitter do? Twitter says that this has violated copyright law. And so Carpe Diem goes to Parler, which is another social media outlet similar to Twitter. That's much more understanding to conservatives. He says, I've been permanently banned from Twitter for, quote, copyright infringement. I have always abided by any DCMA takedown I have received. I have never violated a takedown. The most recent takedown was this morning, and it was fraudulent. The toddler video was and is public domain and protected by the law under satire and parody. Thanks for your support. But he's been permanently silenced on Twitter. That's how you deal with your political opposition. If you're a lover of big government, you're part of the radical left, you're part of the anti-American anti-free speech crowd. There you go. That's what you do. It's reprehensible as well. Got to take a time out. You're listening to conservative, not bitter talk. I'm your host, Todd Huff. Back in just a minute.
Is it possible to be a fan of the show if you don't have the gear to prove it? Why not be safe and remove all doubt? Shop for official merchandise at toddhuffshow.com/shop today.
What if your bank treated you like a person instead of an account number? What if you could sit across from the person you are opening an account with or requesting a loan from and have an actual conversation? You may be thinking, Todd, that's crazy talk. Well, not at Citizens Bank. Come visit them in Monrovia and meet Nick Gibson, their new branch manager, and the rest of their staff. Or give them a call at 317-831-0110. Citizens Bank is an equal housing lender and member FDIC.
You rely on your vehicle every day. It's not a member of the family, but you spend as much time with it as most family members. You wouldn't take your family to just any doctor, so don't trust your vehicle to just any repair service. At Raymond's Auto and Truck Repair in Plainfield, we have well-trained, caring technicians that have the expertise to get you back on the road. For 25 years, we've been servicing personal, commercial, and fleet vehicles. Give us a call at 317-838-7112 for the car service you deserve.
Business leaders, are your employees satisfied with their jobs? Do they enjoy coming to work and feel valued? Workforce Chaplains can help. Locally owned, we work with organizations to provide holistic care to their employees. I'm Marcus Schrader, president of Workforce Chaplains, and we offer your team a 24/7 support system that positively affects your company's culture and productivity. With our personalized pricing and diverse support system, we handle the issues that you wish you had time for. To learn more, visit us at workforcechaplains.com.
Anxiety, depression, relationship problems, past trauma. Problems rarely get better when given time. Care to Change counseling can help. Our professionals combined evidence-based care models with scripture to get you on the path to a productive life. We are here to help you make the changes you need for a healthier, happier you. Take that brave step today. Call Care to Change at 317-790-9396 or visit caretochange.org.
Our partner, Global Plasma Solutions, has published ionization testing results that demonstrate a 99.4% reduction rate on a SARS-CoV-2 COVID-19 surface strain within 30 minutes. This is the first instance that an air purification company has effectively neutralized SARS-CoV-2. Commercial Service Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing is installing this solution in businesses and homes in South Central Indiana. Get your free information kit at commercialservice.com/info. Commercial Service, commercial grade service for your home.
All right, here we go. $100 down, $200 back at $300.
I went to my first firearms auction a few years ago. It was hosted by TJ Freege, one of my good friends from high school, who is a champion auctioneer and one of the best in the business. In spite of objections from liberal legislators, I walked away with a .22 rifle and a few boxes of ammunition. And I had a great afternoon with my grandpa that I won't soon forget. If you've ever wondered what treasure you could find in an auction, visit FreegeAuctioneers.com and take a look at their upcoming Central Indiana auction schedule. That's Freege, F-R-E-I-J-E, auctioneers.com. Visit FreegeAuctioneers.com.
Hi, I'm TJ Freege, owner and lead auctioneer at Freege & Freege Auctions and Marketing. I invite you to come see the power of live auctions. It's fast, it's fun, it's transparent, and it's the absolute best way to ensure you get fair market value for your asset today. Get results, go auction.
We have now reached the saddest part of the program, and that is the part where we have to part for the day. But fear not. Fear not. You can always go to our website, toddhuffshow.com/listen, to check out past archives of shows. If you didn't catch hour number 1, you can also catch that on Facebook. And download the podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. But it's time to part, hour number 2. But we will be back at it tomorrow morning. And guys, I appreciate you listening. No matter where you listen, no matter how you listen, it's truly a blessing to be able to do this program, and I love it. So thank you so much. Have a great day. SDG. See you tomorrow. Take care.
Geothermal tax credits are back.